A 12-year-old girl suffers a near death after overdosing on fentanyl, which police say was purchased by the young girl. This alarming story shocked the community and shines a familiar light on the deadly fentanyl crisis that's gripping the Central Coast. Though it also has many begging the question, what drives a 12-year-old girl, a sixth grader, to actively seek out and purchase drugs? Well, one factor often forgotten are the emerging struggles that many teens and young kids face when it comes to mental health, struggles that can be a gateway to future substance abuse. In these pressing times, the Boys and Girls Clubs of Santa Cruz County is on a mission to impact the lives of young kids and teens and set them on a path towards a brighter future. My name is Casey Paz with KSQD, and today I'm having a conversation with Genesis Smith, a 22-year-old student out of San Jose State University, studying for her master's in social work. Genesis also works with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Santa Cruz County Live Oak Clubhouse, mentoring youth and training staff on childcare through social-emotional development. Genesis, thanks so much for coming on and taking the time to talk with us.
Of course, happy to be here.
Considering your experience working with youth around this age, what are your initial reactions upon hearing the story?
I'm not surprised, only because I've seen the direction a lot of the youth have gone from me being in middle school to what middle schoolers are doing now. I also grew up with no social media. Social media was just barely coming up, so we were barely getting Instagram and Snapchat and all this other stuff. So it's not completely unexpected, as I've seen a lot of 12-year-olds stealing cars and drinking and doing all this other stuff. So it's not a surprise that a 12-year-old was able to acquire drugs in the first place.
So tell me a little bit more about the Boys and Girls Club. What services do you provide, and what's the goal when a new member walks through the door?
The services we provide homework help, just a safe place for the kids to come and hang out. I typically work in the teen center, so we just have a good space, good environment for the teens to have a good time with the staff and hang out with other peers their age that they may not even hang out with at school. Have positive role models that they can look up to and ask questions to that they may not feel comfortable talking to their parents about. Just an overall good environment.
What role do you think the Boys and Girls Club plays in the life of a middle schooler?
For those that are in the Boys and Girls Club, I feel like it has a really great impact for those that do attend. I have noticed a difference between those that stop attending and do not attend at all versus those that grow up in the Boys and Girls Club that have been here since they were maybe elementary or started in middle school or went through middle school, because they always come back. They come back to visit in high school, or they'll see the staff in the grocery store and be like, hi, oh my gosh. And it's really nice to see that they remember you, because that means you had an impact on them at some point in their life.
So that being said, a consistent presence in the Boys and Girls Club, would you say that sort of deters them from dangerous and risky behavior?
Yeah, because they're over here for majority of their day. So during summer, we're open like all day, like 9 to 6. So that's like majority of their day. During the school year, they're at school from 7:30 to like 2:40, and then they come straight here until like closing, and they go home with their parents. So I feel like that deters them from being able to do anything. Of course, we can't control anything that happens on the weekends, but the Monday through Friday, at least we know what's going on.
Well, that's really good to hear. You work with a lot of teens. What would you say are some of the biggest challenges that they face these days?
I feel like they face a lot of insecurities within themselves as they compare themselves to what they see on social media and online. A lot of adults didn't grow up like they've grown up. They didn't grow up with social media. They didn't grow up with a phone. They don't understand what it's like to grow up now. They didn't have to go to school during COVID. Or that's another thing. A lot of these middle schoolers missed a lot of either middle school or elementary school due to COVID. So it's like they kind of time jumped and they're like 7th graders, or they time jumped and they're an 8th grader. So I feel like that has a really big impact on what it's like being them right now.
How much of an impact do you think that has on their social and emotional growth?
I think it has a large impact because surprisingly, I feel like a lot of the kids are growing up faster in a sense. A lot of people will say, oh, they're developmentally behind now, but I'm like, no, I see kind of a spring forward in like age. Like 11-year-olds are acting like they're 14, and like 14-year-olds are acting like they're 17. I'm not one to say that I don't like TikTok, but it's stuff that they see online. There are a lot of influencers that are their age. They see that and they're like, oh, well, I want to be like that. So I feel like that has a really big influence and impact on how they're growing up in their social lives today. Because kids are so malleable, they're sponges during this time. When they go into elementary school till middle school, once you catch them in middle school, if they have habits that they're doing, that's when you need to kick them. Otherwise, that's what they're going to be doing in high school and so on.
How would you say the Boys and Girls Club helps teens navigate the modern problems that we see today?
We have Smart Girls and Bro Code, which is both groups that we hold that are both voluntary. Smart Girls is like a girl group where the girls can come and have like a safe space away from the boys and the men staff, and they could just talk to female staff about like stuff that's going on at school if they have concerns, like their insecurities, how to feel confident, and just kind of have a safe space to let it all out. And same for the boys. So a lot of the boys don't have father figures, so those male staff members often are that role model for them. So they'll teach them how to like tie a tie, how to do a job interview, just what the definition of a man is to them. And then we also don't allow the teens to be on their phones as much because we'd rather them interact with each other face to face than online where I can't see it because messages can spread really quickly.
Well, that's really great to hear. How often would you say you encounter kids or teens suffering from depression, and how do you address that?
Probably daily. Like there's a lot of kids that are quiet and we just think that they're the quiet kids, but they're actually like really depressed. When you actually sit down and have a conversation with them and you find out like how they're actually feeling. Like that's another thing I really love about Smart Girls is that we make sure a lot of the things when we want them to express their emotions, we make sure that they're anonymous. So they can like have what they want to say be said out loud without them saying it directly. Or we'll write what they want to say on a plate and let them smash the plate so they can get those feelings out. I've started to notice that there's more and more kids that are actually suffering from depression that really just hide it. And I feel like because I'm in social work, I know what to look out for, but a lot of staff isn't technically trained to do such. So I see it a lot more regularly.
Can you recall a particular difficult situation where you or another staff had to handle regarding a teen's mental state?
Kind of going back to that writing on the plates. I was writing on my plate and I was sitting next to one of the girls and I look over and there was some pretty like sad stuff on there that I noticed that I was like, didn't realize that's what was happening in their mind, in their head and going on at school. So I feel like that was a moment I was like, oh. And so I brought it to another staff's attention and we've kind of like done it in a subtle way where we'll just go and be like, hey, how are you today? And make the extra effort to talk to that child every single day. So they feel like they can come to us and have like, they're not alone. Just asking how a kid's day is and like actually being interested and not just saying, hey, how's your day, to just say, hey, how's your day? I feel like that really just like shows them that you care and you're not just like going through the motions with them.
What would you say is your proudest moment working at the Boys and Girls Club? Any sort of success stories, any sort of positive outcomes that you've seen later down the line?
My favorite story is when I was working with the younger kids. It was during COVID and we had kind of like a little Zoom school, I would call it. There was like a small handful of kids. We all had like a group of 12 and they would do their classes, do their homework and everything. And one of the kids got moved into my group. I had talked to her teacher and her teacher was saying that she's probably not going to be moving on to the next grade because she was doing so horribly. So I worked really, really hard with her throughout the second half of the school year and like just really pushed her and did one-on-one with her, met with her teacher regularly. By the end of it, she came up to me and she's like, I'm going to be going to third grade. And I was like, really? And she was like, yeah, we did it. And she was just so happy. And I feel like that was like definitely my favorite moment. And I was so proud of myself and proud of her for like really putting in the work. I felt like we were both really proud.
Well, that sounds like an amazing story to end our conversation off on. Genesis, thank you so much for your time. My name is Casey Paz with Case QD, and you've been listening to a conversation with Genesis Smith. Thanks for tuning in.